Biden's job approval decline amid COVID surge, Afghanistan withdrawal, and NBC News poll. Um, and so there might be some chainsaw sounds in the background. Don't worry, it's outside. It has nothing to do with this video or me, but the mic may or may not pick it up. Summer of discontent. Biden's overall job approval falls below 50% for the first time in NBC News' poll, while just 25% approve of his handling of Afghanistan. Now think about that for a little bit. 25% approve of his handling of Afghanistan. Like, what would it take for them to disapprove? Like, what would be, what would have to happen for them to say, yeah, this is being mishandled? Like 25%, that's 1/4 of the country thinks JoJo's doing a good job in Afghanistan. Like, are they just completely oblivious? They don't know anything about it. They don't even know, there's something going on there. They have no clue. Like, what's going on that they think this is being handled appropriately by JoJo Magooze? What does it take for them to say, yeah, I think he might be doing a bad job? And then he had over 50% approval for, the rest of the time, even with what happened in the southern border. And just his, when he talks, right? When he gives, interviews, his bumbling nature. Like, what movie are they watching? The same thing with Trump supporters. And I've talked about this before. But Trump at least was, he was more mentally competent, right? He was more cognizant. He just, Joe Biden can't even give an interview or any of these things without looking like a complete bonehead. So I wanted to lead with this. I got a bunch of funny things to get to. I made a video about Biden's press conference last night, and there were some things I wanted to say. At the end I was talking about Bill Clinton and how everything's so partisan and so divisive. It takes a lot for people to root against their guy. Either they hate the other side so bad or, whatever it is. They just don't want to give up on Joe Biden in this case or Trump or any of them, no matter what happens. They'll never admit the guy's failing or sucks or whatever. But JoJo Magooze has been caught over and over lying. His other people who are going out and having to deal with the press, people in the Defense Department, are contradicting things he's saying in interviews. They're contradicting things he's saying. Reversing them, where he says everyone who wants to get to the airport can get to the airport, and they're saying, well, that's not the case. It's the opposite. There are people struggling to get there, right? So, just his handling of it. Like, his withdrawing from Afghanistan had to happen. It was the wrong choice. It was a mistake, and he's the one who's, this is the visual representation of something that was a mistake from the very beginning. And so he's getting all of that. But he deserves it because he's a lifelong politician, and he's been endorsing these things forever. So he's, just as responsible as any of these other, clowns. And so, he's getting stuck with the bill, but he deserves it because of his years of being just a government shill. So it's his past, like I've said in other videos. But the thing about, this particular situation, and JoJo Magooze was responding, there was this guy named Abdul, I think his name was. Fake name probably. He was an interpreter. He left a crying message, and a woman asked a question because the same guy gave an interview with ABC News as well as CNN, and he was crying, and he was like, why are you guys leaving me here? And every one of these countries, they have, the spy network and NSA, and they're able to spy in these countries. But to really get access and, gain trust, they have to have people in those countries that work with them, right? Interpreters or people that, show them around and give them access. In many ways, these people are selling out their own country, right? They're collaborating with America. And the people that live with them who hate America, who's, America's invading and wrecking their country, and Americans, kill some of their people, right? Some of their relatives, whatever. So lots of them don't like these shills and collaborators that are working with the great Satan. And whatever country it is, right? Whatever, country that America is messing around with, tinkering with, manipulating, they have to have people that they buy, right? They have to have people who are on their payroll. And those people are, living the high life to some extent while America is in charge of that country. If America's invaded that country in this case, right? But those people, their families and them are at grave risk. And so, America makes promises to them, the CIA, whatever it is. In this case, in Afghanistan, it's the American government and military that's making promises to these people. And now they're bailing on these people, and they're not going to get them all out, right? And so this is, an example of America just not following through on promises. And you say, well, it's just people in Afghanistan. Yeah, they'll do it to you too. This is the way, this is the way America and governments in general treat people. They use you. They tell you, they make promises they don't deliver. Politicians do this all the time. It's a prime example. But what America can't do is leave people there. And that's, if there's Americans that get left there or get, hostaged, like what happened. When I was a kid, there was the Iranian hostage crisis. I just watched the end of the Argo movie the other night. It was on, I don't know, one of my movie channels. It's a good movie, and they kind of, touch the way that America and the CIA manipulated and abused Iran with Operation Ajax. But then, the Shah of Iran left just like the leader of Afghanistan left a few days ago. These leaders get out and they take some money with them, right? This happened in Libya years ago when Gaddafi took over, King Idris. And so what happens is the puppet leader leaves, and then the people storm the government, and sometimes, they get the embassy like they did in Iran. And then for 400 or so days, there was a hostage crisis that cost Jimmy Carter his presidency. And, the news was different back then, but they covered it constantly. I mean, it was on almost every night. There was people were posting flag or like yellow ribbons or something, whatever it was, right? There was things going on like that. I was a little kid, and I knew about it. And it went on for a very long time until Jimmy Carter was ousted and Reagan won, and he made a deal with weapons, which caused a scandal for him later on. And so if there's hostages, that's going to be the end of Joe Biden's presidency, because it'll be just about that, right? And who knows, how that'll play out. But if they leave behind, and we don't know because the news media is so different now, people move on. But if they take American hostages, and there's some sort of graphic imagery from that thing, Joe Biden won't survive that. But who knows what that'll mean, right? Kamala or whatever it is. I mean, they're not going to impeach him. It'll just be, Joe Biden will be hammered on the news regularly, and he was complaining, he was whining about the rough coverage he was getting, when they've just pampered the guy. Like, that's how clueless he is. But the main point of this is, think about that 25% thinks he's doing a good job in Afghanistan, and he has had about half of America that thinks he's a good president. And he can't even, he's drooling on himself. I mean, what I expect from a president is a performance. Like, I judge them on their performance. Trump used to give good performances, and it was funny, and he pissed people off, so it was great. But, I mean, in terms of Trump's decision-making, he didn't really have all that much power. And it showed at the end when the election, the whole election debacle, and he said, what way is this to run a country? Like, he was completely denuded, which is hilarious as well. But Joe Biden's performance, although I love it, making fun of it, it's great for me, is dismal. Like, he's not somebody that you would, want to drive your kids to school in a bus, right? You wouldn't think he's a good bus driver. Like, somebody who can't, I mean, you wouldn't want him to cook you a meal or whatever, Like, there's, what job would you feel comfortable Joe Biden doing? what task would you feel comfortable him performing for you? And he's president. And so 50% of America don't see that at all. They look at this guy and see him as a good leader. And that tells you everything you need to know about America. And so let's move on to Barry Manilow and Anderson Cooper's, because there's lots of funny things that happen the last couple of days. So oftentimes watching TV, my wife and I are watching TV, and she might be doing something, or I'm waiting for her or something like that. And so I like thumbing through the channels, and I often hit the news channels. And so last night I was going through the channels, and I saw Anderson Cooper, and he was interviewing someone like Patti Smith, one of these like sort of old 1960s rocker hags, right? And this concert, which I kind of got a sense of, I saw some, maybe it was on the New York Post, had been rained out by the hurricane or the tropical storm that's hitting New York, and I thought it was hilarious, right? And so Anderson Cooper's interviewing this, old 60s rocker, and she starts talking about, it raining like it was global warming, right? She's like, when you hit nature, when you mess with nature, things like this happen. And I'm like, what, rain? The storm? What are you talking about? I'm not like, lots of truthers say there's no such thing as climate change and American pollution isn't doing anything bad. Of course it's doing, not American, world, human pollution. Of course our pollution is negatively affecting the earth. I mean, it's toxic, all the toxicity in the pollution is a bad thing. So I'm not, I know that global warming has been used as a money-making scam, but I'm not, like a right-wing person or some of the truthers that say man-made pollution isn't causing problems. But this is just stupid. It's raining in New York City. There's a storm, a summertime storm. This is when tropical storms happen. And they're having a concert and they're doing it outside, and a storm hits and she blames, Mother Nature is fighting back. So I wanted to get that. I wanted to, show you that interview. I couldn't find it, but I found something even better. And this is when they called the concert with Barry Manilow singing. This is priceless.
No, I can't smile without you. Can't smile without you.
Wait, did you see that frickin' dance move? Watch Barry Manilow get down with his dancing. I'm going to slow this down. Here he goes. He's walking, he's singing, he's walking, he's singing, and then boom, look at him go. Look at him dance. Barry Manilow breaking it down. Do your thing, Barry.
Can't laugh and I can't sing. Finding it hard to do anything.
Barry puts the G in ghoul. Look at this cadaver, right? This guy was old when he was young. His audience has been dead for years. He's a corpse out there. His voice sucks. It's gone. And his music always sucked. Like, I avoid Barry Manilow music like the frickin' plague, because not only does it suck, but it sticks in your mind. Like, it just, it leeches on. You're going to be singing that all day today. And smile without you. You're just going to... You're screwed. You're going to be thinking about that all day. You're not going to... you're going to have to do some heartfulness cleaning to get rid of that, loop of Barry Manilow dancing and singing like some sort of ghoulish cadaver up on stage. And these New Yorkers, it's some sort of liberal up with New York, I don't know, Central Park concert, outdoor concert, and they paid to see Barry Manilow. Like, that's, there's multiple really old, decrepit, has-beens isn't even the proper word, right? Ghouls. Like, these are just, old performing ghouls up there, cadavers that no longer can carry a tune. And they're out there in Central Park belting out these songs, and people are out there listening to them. And then this happens.
See, I feel sad when you're sad. Feel glad when you're glad.
Just think of the sheer wisdom and, just intelligence behind these brilliant lyrics. I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. Who wrote this? Dr. Zeus? Maybe Barry Manilow is Dr. Zeus. You know, this song sucked when it was released, and times have changed, and music's matured, and, you know, Barry Manilow has always been kind of a joke, but they're still rolling him out there, right?
If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile.
So, lightning starts striking. Barry Manilow singing "Lightning Starts Striking." You know, when Patti Smythe or whatever it was said that this was nature fighting back. You know, maybe God wants Barry Manilow to shut the fuck up. Like, you know, but lightning strikes and Barry Manilow's hitting this big note, and he's still trying to sing. It's raining, and they're clearing everybody out.
Thank you for your cooperation. Please pay close attention to the following safety message.
Wait, we gotta leave? We gotta leave? Barry Manilow was rocking it out. It was going. He was singing "Can't Smile Without You." He gotta go. He wasn't done with the song. Let him finish his song.
Due to approaching severe weather, all persons should move quickly and calmly to the nearest exit and proceed to your vehicles and protected areas outside of the event site. Please seek shelter for your safety.
Like, you just think about how apocalyptic this is. This crowd's packed in there to see Barry Manilow and other has-beens belt out tunes. And it starts to lightning and rain, and they're like, proceed to the exit, the concert's over. And then Anderson Cooper interviews Barry Manilow, and that is priceless.
And did you know this was coming when you were on the stage? No, you didn't.
No, well, you know, when I was in the wings, I saw it start to drizzle, but I had no idea it was going this far. And my music director, Ron, give me a chord. I made it through the rain. I kept my world protected.
Hey, Ron, give me a chord. I'm gonna sing. I'm on television with Anderson Cooper. I got one more song left in me. I was cut short. My set was cut short. I made it through the rain. And it gets better.
I made it through the rain. I kept my point of view. I made it through the rain.
Stick with it. No,
Found myself
something great's coming. It's going to happen any second here. There he is.
I made it through. Well, maybe one of these days we can do this again, and it won't.
Anderson Cooper. Where's your lighter, Anderson? Anderson Cooper is such a weird ghoul himself. I mean, just let's just call it like it's over. America's done. Like it just hit rock bottom. That was absolutely wonderful. Now I got a bunch of other funny stuff to get through. I don't remember. I'll just start here with Britney and move sideways. And so, Britney Spears' dogs returned after housekeeper took them. And the New York Post is all over this. Remember, she grabbed her housekeeper's phone and they had a struggle, and her housekeeper wanted her charged with battery. And what happened was her housekeeper was concerned about her dogs. Her dogs are on a special diet, and Britney was feeding the dogs table scraps. And the housekeeper became very concerned about the puppies because they should be getting table scraps, and they looked a little bit mangy, and they weren't doing well. And so she says here, both dogs require a special diet, and one with serious digestive issues. So the housekeeper became concerned when she saw the pooches regularly fed table scraps, according to the site. And so then Britney, her housekeeper reported her to, I don't know who's in charge of dogs who are, being misfed. But Britney was like, hey, you're taking pictures of the dogs and sending them to my dad. So she tries to grab the camera. She grabs the phone from the woman to see if she's got these pictures were being mailed to her dad. And that's when the whole thing went south. And Britney eventually got her dogs back. And so this is how she dealt with it. Remember? She's spinning around. Yeah, the bitch took my dogs. I shoved a rose in her face. I slapped her. I grabbed her phone. Give some devil's horns there on the side. Look at that. We'll go back around. You'll see it. Maybe I can stop it. I'm spinning with joy. Got my dogs back. My dad, he's not in charge of the conservatorship anymore. My dogs are back. Here's a rose. And then they're here. Let's see the devil's horns right here. It's coming up. And she does that. Bows down. Do some more spinning. How long is this thing? Maybe it's not here. Let's see. Come on, Britney. Do the devil's horns right here. Ready? Spin again. Doing a little spin. She likes to spin. She likes to stick the rose in your face. Here it comes. Right here. It's coming right here. Right. Right. There. Boom. You see it. She did a little devil's horns there with that hand. Anyways, that's Britney. So one of my viewers sent me this. I don't know why, but it's kind of hilarious. So this woman's doing, well, I guess it's because it's hilarious. She's into some kind of a fan. She's doing some knee bopping down here. Some old 60s bell bottoms. Looks kind of like a dude. Do your thing. Where's Barry Manilow when you need him? Come on. Play some Barry Manilow. There you go. Do the knee bop. That's just classic. I'm not sure what this is for, but it's unintentionally funny. Grace Under Fire star Brett Butler is broke and ashamed to death. The struggle is real. Grace Under Fire star Brett Butler revealed she is broke after a GoFundMe was created by a friend to help her pay her bills. Butler, who starred in the 90s sitcom and made $250,000 per episode, told The Hollywood Reporter she was 6 months behind on her rent. The 63-year-old explained she may have waited too long to let her friend launch a GoFundMe page. I've been ashamed, she said, almost ashamed to death. Can you die of shame? Here's the article that she gave at Hollywood Reporter. And apparently she's addicted to Vicodin, but she was making $250,000 per episode. And I think there's probably around 21 episodes a year. I don't know how long that show was on. I never really watched it. Only have a sort of, I guess she had her own talk show for a while. And so she, made quite a lot of money, but her Vicodin addiction and whatever else made her go broke. And now she can't pay her rent. She's going to be homeless. And so give this Hollywood failure some of your hard-earned cash. She was making $250,000 a year. I mean, an episode, right? So that's millions of dollars a year. But somehow she mismanaged her money, and she's a good investment. Every Hollywood celebrity that goes broke needs a little GoFundMe money now and again. So people have, I guess, apparently she went broke and she lost a farm in Georgia. And then Charlie Sheen put her on anger management. It literally saved my life. Charlie Sheen, remember he had that show after he had his meltdown. And then she got a little bit more, Hollywood money. You can't live your life based on being afraid of what haters will do. Words to live by. And her friend said that she originally wanted to go for $15,000, but they've raised $12,000 with 246 donors, and now they're going up to $20,000 to help this Hollywood hag who's on hard times for her Vicodin addiction and give her your hard-earned money because, she deserves it. Jeopardy is the answer to what game show can't afford another colossal hiring mistake. This guy, Mike Richards, was hired to replace Alex Trebek, but he made some sexist comments on a podcast, and he was fired 8 days after being hired. He was canceled literally 8 days after getting the Jeopardy gig. I mean, this is all apocalyptic stuff, right? Where the internet works in such a way in the cancel culture. Like he was barely was done signing the contract when they fired him. So I just thought I'd add this on. My wife sent me this. She showed me this video. And this happened 5 days ago on MSNBC. This school, I don't know who he is. We know who this guy is.
Matt Zeller, former first lieutenant during the war.
He's another zombie-ish, somber-faced, ghoulish MNFer. Remember when Brian Williams was at the top of he was like the number one news anchor on NBC News, and then he lied about taking fire, that he was in a helicopter and he was shot at, and he wasn't. And it came out that he just made it up, and then he demoted him to a late night spot on MSNBC, and now he's getting rung up again.
The war in Afghanistan, former combat advisor with Afghan security forces, co-founder of No One Left Behind, a veterans organization that offers services to former Afghan and Iraqi interpreters who resettle here in the United States. Mr. Zeller, it's almost ironic now to state the name of the organization you founded, given what we're watching go on, though I'm curious to hear your reaction of this consequential speech by the American president. Didn't run from it. He owned it. He owned his decision. He owned the fact that, as he put it, the buck stops with him.
I hope he gets to own their deaths, too.
Go Blowy. It's not going to go like you thought it was, Brian. This is great. He's like saying how great that was a horrible speech. He didn't own it. He ran away from the questions. He blamed Trump. And then most of the meat of the speech was blaming the Afghani politicians and army for not standing up. This puppet army and this puppet leadership that never asked for America to invade them. And, so Jojo Magooze did not, he said the words, the buck stops with me, right? But that was just words. He spread the blame around, even threw some subtle blame on Obama. And Brian Williams is completely mischaracterizing the speech, and this guy's not having any of it.
I feel like I watched a different speech than the rest of you guys. I was appalled. There was such a profound, bold-faced lie in that speech. The idea that we planned for every contingency. I have been personally trying to tell this administration since it took office. I've been trying to tell our government for years that this was coming. We sent them plan after plan on how to evacuate these people. Nobody listened to us. They didn't plan for the evacuation of our Afghan wartime allies. They're trying to conduct it now at the 11th hour. The thing that they were most concerned about was the optics of a chaotic evacuation. Well, they got exactly what they were most concerned of by failing to do what was right when we could have done it. We had all the people and equipment in place to be able to save these people months ago, and we did nothing. I'm appalled that he thinks we only need to take 2,000 people. There's 86,000 people who are currently left behind in Afghanistan alone. We've identified all of them for the government.
You want to bring 86,000 people into America from Afghanistan? Like, is that what's happening nowadays?
I have no idea why he claims that people don't want to leave Afghanistan. I have a list of 14,000 names right now of people who want to get out of Afghanistan. And the idea that the Afghan military should be blamed for this. Do you know how many casualties the Afghan military took in an average year? More than the United States did in 20. When you're not getting paid on a regular basis, when you're not getting fuel, when no one is supplying you with ammunition, and yet you're still showing up to the fight, how dare us for having to blame these people for not having the audacity to be able to survive a Taliban onslaught? No.
Kablawi again. This guy's just laying in. Brian, where's Brian Williams? I want to see his reaction.
What we need to be doing right now, and what I am appalled that the president didn't say, was we need to be talking about how we're going to get every single one of these people out. Because let's be abundantly clear. People like me looked these people in the eye and made them a promise. We promised them that in their time of need, we would take care of them. How do you ever expect anyone to ever trust us again if we don't do that now while we can?
Yeah, they're not going to trust us. I mean, like, who trusts anybody? America is completely bailing on this thing, and Joe Biden's leading the way. I mean, this was, what was going to eventually happen.
I'm sick and tired of trying to defer the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan on what we're going to do. We're the United States of America. They're terrified of us. I have Afghans on the ground right now who are telling me they're going door to door in Kabul and they're making lists of people who used to work with us. They're telling them with smiles on their face, evil smiles, that they're going to be back from them once we leave. So we either take them now or these people are going to die. I've been trying to tell anyone who will listen. This is a never again moment in the making. This is an administration that seems to be a profound champion and defender of human rights.
Come on, bro. They're not any of that thing.
Well, sometimes human rights have to be defended at the barrel end of a gun. The Taliban are a modern version of the Nazis. And if this was Dresden, do you think if this was Dunkirk, do you think British, yachting pilots, the British captains that were sailing their boats heroically into Dunkirk, do you think they were asking on the beaches if the people they were picking up were Brits or French, or do you think they were just trying to get people away from the Nazis? Every Afghan we leave behind is going to be left behind to a horrible existence. And if we don't take them now while we can, that is as much on us as it is on the Taliban, who will hang or behead them.
Matt, our friend Paul Rykov tweeted a couple hours ago that 6,000 troops.
This is Nicole Wallace, who gets more ghoulish every year. And, I'm interested in how they respond to this, because this guy's pretty passionate about how bad Biden screwed it up, and they were just discussing how he rocked the speech.
Troops are not adequate to do what you just described, which hopefully is still the mission of this administration. Tell me what the operation looks like if adequately staffed and funded.
I've been saying for a very long time we need to send the entirety of the 82nd Airborne back in. We're sending it seems to be a small fraction of it thus far. We probably need to send the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force. These are 2 units that we keep on 48-hour recall. We should be retaking every single airfield that we just gave up. Look, I know this sounds ridiculous and it's not politically feasible, but these are our people. We made these people a promise. The Taliban are now actively killing them. And if we
Yeah, America go talk to some Native Americans about their treaties, right? I mean, promises like this is, America has no use for the people in Afghanistan. What made them valuable was they were in Afghanistan. They're not valuable in America, right? I mean, just think about the way they treat troops, because every politician talks about, oh, thank you for your service and how much they love the troops, but the VA, the VA hospitals were such a complete mess. I mean, I don't even know if they're working well. My brother said that they've gotten better. My brother said, I was talking to him about this because he's a Vietnam vet. And he said, when you go into war, when you go into the army, you give up all your rights. You give up most of your rights. They order you to do things, and they put you through things and experiment on you, do, psychological operations, psychological brainwashing, and basic training and boot camp, all these things that the Army does. And the idea is that they're going to take care of you for the rest of your life. It's sort of this false promise. But he said he was driving a limousine, and there was this general, and the general recognized, there's like a retired general, and he was kind of drunk, and he recognized my brother was a veteran. He said he was in, Vietnam. And the general said, we thought you guys would all come back and be dead by now. They were counting on the Vietnam vets dying at an early age with all the Agent Orange and crap that they inflicted on them, because that's what they do. So, like, this guy's, just another person. I mean, he's going off, which I like. I'm not opposed to it. But this idea that America is good and, all these governments are good and the way they treat their military or, these people that help them, they're users, right? They're people who, our government uses people, uses other governments, uses its citizens, right? They're takers. We're not givers, we're takers.
We don't take them, they're going to die. And that's the thing is we have the means to do this. We have just simply lacked this entire time the courage and conviction to do the right thing. And I am not going to sit and listen to a president that I voted for. I was happy that this man took office. I'm now
Really? You voted for this guy?
appalled at that speech. I'm not going to sit here and have him lie to the American people. We did not plan as a government for this contingency. The American people, the advocates who have been pleading with the government, did plan for it. You can go to our website, evacuateourallies.org. It's been up for months. We had a plan in writing. We tried to give it to them. I have receipts. I put those out on social media. No one got back to us. No.
See, if you're going to be honest, which most people aren't, how many people actually really care about the Afghani people, the ones that helped Americans, the ones that were, pro-American? How many want more immigrants here in America? I mean, you have celebrities who are all jumping on board with this thing. Angelina Jolie, I saw a headline about her doing something on Instagram. They're all, somebody sent me, some hashtags of Afghanistan hashtags. All these celebrities are posting them and retweeting them. Because it's just an act, right? Everybody's just faking all the time. People don't care about the troops. They say they care about them, but they don't hire them. They don't want people who've been in war. They're scared of people who know how to kill or who have killed people or whatever, whatever happened in war. Most people say they're pro-veterans, they're pro-army, USA, but they don't want to hire a veteran. They don't want someone who's damaged by a war, psychologically damaged PTSD working for them. I mean, they won't say that, but that's how it is. Most companies, most people, the Afghani people were valuable when they were in Afghanistan. They're not valuable here. What are they going to do here? They were useful to America there. But I'm saying even more than that, most people are just so fake and so one-sided and so subjective. It's all the right-wing. It's like Fox News and it's like New York Post, all these right-wing leaning people, all the Trumpers who want to see Joe Biden fail, and many of us in the truth community who've been watching the mainstream media ridiculous coverage of Joe Biden, that, we all want to see him fail, right? We all want, the way Joe Biden campaigned and what he represents. And so all the right-wing people, they're so outraged and horrified by what's happening to all these Afghanis. Like all of a sudden they care about Afghanistan, right? But if it was Trump, they'd be calling it fake news. If they were covering Trump this way, they'd be saying it's all fake news and, it's nothing like what the media is saying. It's just subjective. The people who are after Biden, the people who don't want Biden, are all of a sudden, well, look at the horror shows going on in Afghanistan. But you don't care about them, right? Like, be honest. You just want Joe Biden to fail and you want the media to be embarrassed for putting him out there. I mean, I want that, right? But again, it's just subjective. You're not upset about what's actually happening. You're just upset that, it's something where you get to see Joe Biden flounder and fail and the media have to backtrack on all their, coverage of Trump and all the rest of it. And what sucks about the media and this guy who's being interviewed is they all pretend that America's nice and people are nice and they're caring about other people. With everything that's gone down, you can see people getting more and more selfish, getting more and more, grouping together, getting more and more partisan, getting more and more, in terms of backing their demographics, and everyone's falling into their little groups and they're going after the other groups because they see that their group is being threatened and there's a competition. The pie is shrinking and the resources are being redivided. Privileges are being redivided and everybody's, out for themselves in their group, So let's not pretend we're nice or we care about other people or, whatever it is. That war wasn't about being nice. That war is a lot of Americans getting very angry, wanting payback after what happened in 2001 when the event that transpired that was a catalyst for those wars and people being, conned by their government playing on their emotions and committing to these wars that didn't have anything to do with, the reason we went in had nothing to do with the real reason for the wars. Same thing now, what's going on with, the CV crisis, right? What's going on right now. And people are just completely one-sided about it, right? Everyone's divided up by these divisive issues, whatever it might be. And then, the real reasons for these things happening aren't even being covered, and most people don't even think about them. It's all fake. It's just so much lies and fake, and, it's so disingenuous and all of it. I'm resolved to, do my best right now to evolve spiritually, put out as much information I can about what I consider the solution, the heartfulness meditation, and connecting to God internally. But I don't have much hope for whatever's happening right now. It's a shit show now, and it's going to get worse, right? It's just drizzling right now. It's a shit storm, but it's only drizzling. The real floods and the real, torrential downpour of this shit storm hasn't even really begun. And it's just going to keep on getting worse until everybody gets desperate enough to try something new. And I don't know how long that's going to take. It'll probably be around 100 years before you see any real movement on a spiritual level, but it's coming. And so now, you can get on the ground floor if you want. Start meditating, connect to God, internalize your existence, and just get ahead of the game. But most people won't, and that's just the way it is. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day, and be grateful.